Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. We got some great news. Divi have just added a few new modules. One of it is this little before-after slider here, which is fantastic, really easy to use. I've used it before on pressure washing sites, car detailing sites and things like that. But that's not what I'm looking at today. Just thought I'd show you that. We've created a menu up here with a new drop-down menu feature that they've added. I've got a little icon there. When I hover over it, it's got this little drop-down. I've added my menu right there. And you can add anything you want to this. Sky is the limit. It's really exciting stuff. We can either close it out with a toggle right here or just take it off. As I'm using hover, it hides it. Really exciting new features. So I'll show you exactly how you can use it for this little layout right here. It works on all devices too. If I hit my F12 key, I'm using Google Chrome here. And put on my responsive mode. Here we are on an iPad. Of course, on an iPad, they're going to have to click on it. It's going to do its thing. And then click again. It's going to make it disappear. Or, of course, you can use an icon to close it if you want to. So let's get started. I'm going to get rid of my inspector right here. Let's start a new page. We'll start from scratch. I'll give it a name. Now, because I'm creating my own menu for this, I'm going to use a blank canvas, so there's no default header on the top of our page. To do that, go over the right-hand side. You'll see template. At the moment, it's set to default. I'm going to set it to blank page. That way, we'll have no header and footer on here. Of course, you can design this over in your theme builder too if you want to add it as a custom header on all pages or specific pages. And we've covered that in many videos. So let's start from scratch. We'll use the Divi builder. I'm going to go ahead and build from scratch. By default, as I'm sure you know, it throws in a section once it's put in a row. For mine today, I'm going to use a row with 2 columns in it. In the first one, I'm going to throw my logo in. So I'll just throw an image module. There's my regular logo. We'll pop that one in. Of course, it's way too large. I'm going to go over to my design and sizing over here. In the width, I'm going to make it the size I want. I'm going to say 180 pixels. That'll work on pretty much every device. Going to select pixels from over here. Perfect. Over in this one, I'm going to add a little icon. It doesn't have to be an icon. You can use their new little, there's another module that they've added to called a link module. I roll down a little bit. You can use one of those, or you can use anything you want to trigger this. I'm actually going to use an icon. And let's find a hamburger. That's going to do absolutely fine. I'm going to leave it on the default color there. But I'm going to make it a lot smaller. Let's say 30 pixels. Obviously, adjust yours to taste. Great. Now, I want these modules to be lined up exactly. So I'm going to click on the row that they're sitting in. We've got a nice new flex system. If we go into layout, it should be set to flex. I want to make sure they're aligned center. Perfect. Just so we can see what's going on here, I'm going to chuck a bit of box shadow underneath. Let's do that in the section, the blue tab for the section there. Roll down, there's the box shadow. Throw that on the bottom, we can see where it is. That's a little bit deep for me. So let's go into the spacing. I'll take the padding down. I think I used about 20 pixels before. Obviously, you're going to want to adjust yours to whatever you want for yours. Perfect. Okay, now comes the fun part. Let's go back into this icon here. I want to align it on my right-hand side. Here's alignment. We're over in design, so I'm going to pop it on the right-hand side. Now I'm going to go back over to content. I'm going to go down to elements. I'm going to add a drop-down to it. I'm going to hit add element. And here's a nice new drop-down module that they've added. Just appears as a square there. As you can see, we're in it now because we've added it. So once in the drop-down, I'm going to start adding the elements that I want to be in it. First thing, I'm going to throw another logo in there. This is all optional. Again, I'll use an image. By default, it's got a black background there. So I'm using a light colored version of my logo here. Again, that's way too big. So let's go over in design, sizing. I think 150 pixels will be ample. Great. And that's going to set the size of our drop down here. You can adjust it, and I'll show you later on where you can adjust it. That's great. Well, I'm going to go back into our drop down by hitting the back arrow here. We're going back to the drop down. As I was saying, it's setting the size because it's set to max content width. So the widest bit of content that we've got in there is as wide as it's going to be. And that's probably going to do it for me. But if you wanted to, you could give it a fixed width here, whatever works for you. But now we're in our drop down. I'm going to go back to the content. I'm going to add some links. So I'm going to add a new element. I'll roll down. I'm going to use that little link element right here. Now I'm going to go into the link. As you can see, we're in the link now. And you've got the option to add an icon. This is great for adding icons to your menus and things. Let's just perhaps add a right-hand arrow. That'll work. It's not exactly what I want though. Over in design, I want my icon to be a lot smaller. I'll leave it on the default color just for expediency. Say 20 pixels. See what that's okay. But again, I want them to be in line. So if we go up to our layout just above, remember we're still in our link item. It's going from right to left. You can put it left to right and it'll do it the other way. But if you click back on this one, we've got the icon on the left-hand side there. The gap's a little bit too much for me. We can adjust that right here with our horizontal gap. For instance, if I put 5 pixels in there, it'll cinch it up close. I think that's a little too much. Let's put it back to 10. That's great. Obviously, when you're happy, you can continue. I'm going to go into my content now because obviously it doesn't want to say text link. In the text under content, I'm just going to home, whatever it is you want to do. Obviously, you're going to want to link it down here. You can either use a dynamic link by rolling over, selecting a dynamic link and choose your pages here. Or put in whatever page you want. I'm just going to put hashtag for a placeholder for mine. Just for a little fun with mine, I added a little hover effect underneath so it had a border when they hovered over it. To do that, again, still in the link, we'll go over to design, border. Just want one on the bottom. Make it as wide or as short as you want. Say 2 pixels. You can see it appearing there with the default color. I'll leave like that, but when they hover over it, I wanted it to turn the same blue as the link color. So for hover effects at Divi 5, we need to go up to the top, to the little computer type icon there, left click, go to hover state. And again, we can set a completely different color on hover. So I'm going to use that one on hover. It's a little bit close to the icon and the text itself for me, but we can adjust that with a bit of padding. Now, something really important, when you do a hover effect or something like that and you switch it up here, make sure when you're done, you switch back to desktop mode. Otherwise, anything you do edit-wise will only appear when they hover over it, and I've been caught with that myself. So make sure you switch back to desktop mode. Okay, well, let's give it a little bit more space. Still in design. We can close up our border here. Spacing is just above. Padding top and bottom. Well, let's try 5 pixels. See what happens. It's pushed that line down nicely. I think that's going to work for me. Now to duplicate it, really easy. We can go back into our drop-down module to our content and the elements where we put the link in the first place. Duplicate it right here with the 2 little squares as many times as you want. Now they're a little far apart. So to cinch them up, I'm sure you're ahead of me, we can do that with our flex system too. Over in design, layout is where the flex is. Here's our vertical gap of 30. Let's take it down to 10 and see what it does. I think that's going to work for me. Obviously, adjust yours to taste again. And just for fun, go back to the content now. You're going to want to go in and change the names on these things. And services. Of course, unless you're using a loop, then you can do everything dynamically. I'll pause this and I'll just do these other 3. No point you watching me do this over and over again. And obviously change the link just down below here. Great, so I've added that. Let's go back into our drop down again and we'll just add a little button, perhaps for a contact at the bottom. Elements, let's add a button. We'll go into the button. Let's say contact. And again, obviously put your link in here. A little bit big for me. I'm not going to change much about this button, but we're in the button. I've gone to design. I'm going to hit the button here, use custom styles. I'm going to go down to button text. I'm going to take mine down about 14 pixels. Obviously subjective. You do yours how you will. Alignment wise, I think I'd like it either in the middle or on the left. We can do that. We roll up a little bit. Here's the alignment. Pop it in the middle. Doesn't look too bad. I think I'll keep it on the left just like that. Obviously, go ahead and keep adding things and adding things. If you want to drop down or sub menu item from here, you can just add another link to this existing link in content and elements. But that's pretty much going to work for me. Now, if you wanted to, you could add an icon to close it with. If I was doing that, I go back out into my drop down, content, elements. Again, I'm sure you're ahead of me. Add an element. Use a little icon. It's popped it in at the bottom there. Going to go into that icon. Obviously, we'll want a slightly different icon than that one. So trying to close. That one will do. And I think I'll pop it up on the top right hand side. Let's do that. We can do that over in advanced and position. We need to position it absolutely within our parent container here. Parent container being the drop down itself. It's going to say absolute. It's popped it on top left. I want it on top right. Let's bring it in and down a little bit, perhaps. Vertical and horizontal offset here. Just going to use 5 pixels and 5 pixels on the horizontal too. That'll pretty much work for me. It's covering my logo a little bit, so we can just add a bit more padding to our drop down. So before we do that, let's add the interaction. So it'll make it close this thing. In my case, I'm not actually going to need that because I'm going to do a hover. When they hover over this, I want this to appear. So when they take their mouse off, it's going to disappear. But for anybody who wants to do it on click, I'll show you. Still in advanced and still in the icon, we can close that position now. Go to the new interactions tab, Divi 5 I've added. We'll add an interaction. I'm going to say on mouse click, we want to toggle the visibility, or even better, we'll hide the element. What element? Our drop down. Now, I haven't got much on this page, so I haven't given our drop down an admin label. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to open this and it's going to give us everything on our page. Luckily, I haven't got much. There's our drop down. That's what I want it to toggle. But in a moment, I'll go back to the drop down and show you how you can add an admin label to identify it if you've got a lot going on your page. Like I say, you can build this in your theme builder and have it on all pages if you wish. Once you're happy, we can close this down. I don't want any delay. I want it to happen as soon as they click on it. Great, well, let's go back into our drop down now. I'm going to give it a little bit more padding on the top so that's not touching my logo. Again, I'm going to use the back arrow. Or if you have a problem and you can't get to something, you can always go over to wireframe mode and it'll show you everything on the back end right here. And if you think, well, I can't see the drop down, drop downs, remember, inside our icon. So if we go into the icon, content, elements, there it is right there. And we can flip back at any stage. Okay, well, to give it a little bit more padding on the top, I'm sure you know how to do that. Over in design, spacing, here's padding top. Let's make that, say, 30 pixels. See if that works. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Now, my drop down itself, I want it to appear over on the right hand side here. At the moment, it's sitting on the left hand side of the row that our icon's in here, because remember, it's inside our icon module. So if we go into the drop down right here, we've got it floating at the moment. That's fine. Drop down alignment, it's at the start. We can have it in the middle or we can have it at the end. So I'm going to put it at the end, center, if you want it in the middle of the parent container, or the end, which is exactly where I want it. It's got a 20 pixel offset, so it's 20 pixels down from our icon there, which is perfect. In fact, that looks more than 20 there, but it's going to work for me. And you can choose to show down on hover or on click. Hover is going to work perfectly for me. Now, what I was saying before about adding interactions and being able to identify things, while we're in our drop down, let's go over to content. Right at the bottom, you'll see the metadata here. They've changed this recently. It did used to say admin label. So we can give our drop down a name that makes it easier to identify when we're looking at that. Let's capitalize that M. And also, you may have noticed Force visible. While we're in the builder, we're going to see this at all times. It's going to disappear on the front end. Now we're going to admin enable. If I was to add an interaction to this, I don't need to for this particular one. When I select the target module, you'll see it's got my drop on there. Now, if you've got a lot going on your page, that's a really handy thing to do. Now, I really don't want to put that on there, so I've X'd out. And because I'm using on hover, I'm going to get rid of that little icon there because I don't need it either. So you know how to get rid of that. Back over in content and elements. Let's just trash it. Perfect. Now, if you've done everything correctly, this should now work for us. Let's save the changes. And we'll preview on the front end. And here we have it. Not much going on this page. When I hover over our little icon, our menu is going to appear. We can hover over. We got that little hover effect, underline effect going on. Obviously, you can click any of these links. It'll take you to wherever it is you've linked to. And then if we take our mouse off, it's going to disappear. And as I demonstrated before, if I hit my F12 key, here we are on iPad Air. Now you need to click on it on an iPad, obviously. And it'll do exactly the same thing. Click off of it again, it's going to disappear. Really, really nice new features. What with the drop down and the links, it really is going to take it to another level building menus. Congratulations, Elegant Themes. I think you've done a great job on this. I really do. We've been playing with the new drop-down module and a new text link module, and we've created a little menu here. Looks pretty much like a regular menu, but of course we've got a few icons there. Got a drop down on one of my links here, and I've made it responsive. If I hit my F12 key, you'll see those links disappear. The hamburger's back up there, and we've got a drop down with the same little things going on here. I've kept this very simple today, but it opens up some amazing possibilities for creating all kind of different styled menus. I'll show you exactly how to do it. It's really easy. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead to my dashboard. Let's make a global header out of this. I'm going to go down to Divi, down to Theme Builder, and we'll create a global header. I'm going to build a global header. We'll go ahead and build from scratch. I'm going to add a row with a single column in it. In my column, well, I'll have my little logo, so let's add an image module. There's my logo. Let's make it the size I want it over in design here. I think 180 pixels is what I like. Pop PX on the end. I'll put pixels in for you. If you don't, it may have a percentage there, but you can select pixels over here if you need to. Great, well, let's add another module. Now hit the little plus to add a new module. And here I'm going to add a little link module. Brand new module they just added. And there it is right there. Of course, you're going to want to put in your where you want to take your people. Great thing about this is you can add an icon if you want to. Let's find a home icon perhaps. Now, of course, I don't want it on the top there. I'm actually just going to use an arrow for mine for expediency, but you can choose a different icon for each of your links. So let's take that away and we'll go back to the arrows. I'm just going to use a right-hand arrow for mine. Of course, don't want it there, don't want it as big as that. If you saw yesterday's video, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back over to design, layout. Saying it's left to right, but it's not. If we hit right to left, puts it over there. If I hit this again, it's in line with it, but it's way too big there, obviously. So let's close down the layout, make the icon the size that I actually want it. Of course, you can choose a color up there as well. Let's try 16 pixels. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's try 18 pixels would do. A little bit too much of a gap there. So we can take care of that in spacing. Back in the layout just above. It says it's got 10, but that looks a lot more than 10 to me. So let's put another 10 in there, fresh. Click off of it. That seems a little bit more like it. Now, if you want to center that to your icon, you can do that with a bit of line height. If we go down to our text down here, Of course, you can change colors, change fonts, do whatever you want in the text here. With Divi, I'm sure you know, if you roll over one of these fonts, it'll give you an example. I'm going to leave mine on the default. But if we adjust the line height, I'm taking it down a bit, we can actually centralize it with that little icon. Depending on the size of your icon, you may need to do that. Now you can go on, you can put a hover effect underneath if you want with a line or something, or you can put a border around it. I'm going to keep this very simple by just leaving it exactly like that. Do want to make sure that it's aligned to the left, which it should be by default. What I'm going to do now is copy it. Actually, for expediency, I'm not going to change anything in the text. So let's put that back to text link. And all my links will have that. And obviously you're going to want to put a link in yours to take them to the home page or wherever it is you want yours. So now I've got a generic. I can just duplicate it with the two little squares here as many times as I want. Let's do 6. That's great. Now what I'm going to do is go into the row, the green tab. Once in the row, I'm going to go down to elements. Inside our row is a single column. There it is right there. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go over to my design and flex again, layout. This time I want it going from left to right, so it's nicely in line like that. I also want them to be nicely centered. So I'm going to roll down a bit to align items. I can make it centered just like that. Perfect. And we can also hit center up here if you want everything right in the middle. That'll work for me too. Great. From that's going to be our basic desktop menu right here. Now say we want to add a little drop down to one of these. We've got more menu items. Let's take this, perhaps this third one along. Just to indicate it's got a drop down. I'm going to go into the content and the text. I'm going to put a little right hand arrow. You could use an alt code for a down chevron if you wanted. That's fine. And I want to add a little drop down to it. Now to save time, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into one of these links. I'm going to hit the little 3 dots here. I'm going to save it to my library. And we'll call it new T-link or whatever you want to call yours, just so you can copy it a little bit easier. So now I'm going to go back into the one I want to add a drop down to. And the content, we can go to elements, add an element. What do we want to add? A drop down. There's the new drop down right there. Perfect. And by default, it drops it underneath it to the left hand side. And you can decide where you want to put it. We'll do that in a minute. Now we're actually in the drop down. We can start adding the elements. You can see by default, it's got a black background. I'll leave it like that. You can change the background, obviously in background, which you'll always find under content in any module, section or row. So let's go back up to elements and we'll add what we want to add. You know exactly what we want to add, another text link. So I'll add that from library. We just saved it. New T-link. Perfect. And again, you're going to want to put in different links. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to hit the 2 little squares to duplicate it a few times. Let's do 6 down there as well. And if you wanted to have a sub-menu item, I'm sure you figured out how to do that. In fact, let's just copy this drop down. It would be the quickest way of doing it, as I'm using exactly the same links. I'm going to save this to my library. We'll give it a name. New drop. And we can go into the link that we want to have the drop down from. Let's perhaps go into number 4 this time. Just click on it. Sure you know what to do now. Over to content, elements. We want to add an element. Going to add it from the library. If you're building from scratch, obviously you want to just add your drop down and build as you need. Let's add from library. There's my new drop. Perfect. Doesn't look like it's got my little links in there, so let's just duplicate that a few times. We've got 6 of those in there. And while we're in the drop down, if we go over design and drop down, we can decide whether it's floating, whether it's in line, which means it'll just add it to the one that's there. As you can see, pulls it in indents it in from the side a little bit there. I'm happy with floating, but when I talked about position, I want it to the left perhaps. And you can have it at the start, which is the beginning of the link it's on, to the center, in the middle of it, or at the end. Obviously the start's going to work best for us. And if you need to offset it a bit more, you can do that way. That's absolutely fine. You can also choose right here whether you want to hover over it or click on it. Just fun. Let's change this to click. Let's go back into this text link right here. And I'll do the same thing. I'll put a little chevron over in text and content here, just to let people know something's going on there. Fantastic. You may have noticed when I put that in there, it's slightly widened our drop down. If I go back into this drop down, we go over to sizing, you'll see that it's set to max content. In other words, the widest link you've got in there dictates how wide it's going to be. Of course, you can put in your own value there if you want to, but that's going to work for me. Perfect. Now, when we put the drop down up here, I think it's just on hover, and I think that's going to work for me too. Let's go back into the drop down. Yeah, it's on hover. That's fine. That's great, but what are we going to do when we shrink it down? We want to turn it into a little hamburger, and we don't want to see this main menu at all. So let's do that next. I'm going to go back into our initial row here, the green tab. I'm going to go to Content, Elements, inside the column. Inside that, we should find our little image and our links. I'm going to add a new element. I'm going to add a little hamburger icon. Here's an icon. Let's go in there. Choose the actual icon we want. Or a menu icon. Obviously, you choose what works for you, but this is pretty standard right here. I'm going to leave it that default color, but I do want it a lot smaller. So I'm going to go Design, Icon. Let's try about 30 pixels. I think that's what I used last time. Great. Now, here's where it starts getting fun. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back into this row. I'm going to save the whole row to my library. Clicking on the little 3 dots there. Save to library. And let's call it menu row. And we'll add it to the library. Now, I'm sure some of you are ahead of me now. Now we've saved our row, I'm going to go into our little hamburger icon. I can just get to it there. If you have trouble getting to it, you can go over to wireframe over on the left-hand side here. Here's our little structure. You can get to it right there. When you're ready, flip back. As you can see, I'm in the icon. What I'm going to do now is under Content, Elements, I'm going to add another drop down to our icon. Add element. Here's our drop down. It's put us inside the drop down, which is great. We're in the right place. Elements. I'm going to add a new element. Guess what I'm going to add? I'm going to add from the library this whole menu row. And obviously that's not going to work. It's shooting off to the side there, but we can fix that very easily, and I'm sure you're ahead of me on this. If we go into the row itself, the green tab, here's the column that's sitting in the row. We need to go back into this column. Here's the elements within the column. We don't need the image. We can get rid of that. Don't need the icon on the bottom, the hamburger icon. We can get rid of that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Design, Layout, and in the Flex Layout here, I'm going to switch it from top to bottom. And that should work nicely. Now our little drop down here at the moment, it's sort of dropping down below our text link, which is okay. I prefer if it was over the right when the user clicks on it. And also this is aligned to the left there. I'd like to push it this side perhaps. So again, let's go into the hamburger itself. The icon. Under the content will be our first drop down. In design, I'm going to go to drop down. It's aligned start, which would be left. How about if we put it to the end? That's exactly where I want it. So it's dropping down that way. Then if we go back to our content, into the row and the column, link number 3's got that drop down there. 1, 2, 3. Obviously you'd have names, you'd have real names and real links for yours. So let's go into this one. I'm going to go down to elements. There's the drop down that we've got working for it. So let's go in it. And I want it to be on the left hand side perhaps. At the moment it's set to float, which is fine. It's going to open on hover, which is fine too. That'll actually be a click on a tablet and mobile. It says below, let's put it on the left hand side also. And our other one's already set to open on the left hand side. Great. But of course we don't want to see this on desktop. And we don't want to see any of this on tablet and mobile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my icon and just get to it there again. I'm going to go over to Advanced and Visibility. I'm going to disable it on desktop. Let's grade it out, as you can see there. Let us know on desktop that we can't see it. I want to keep my logo visible at all times. Let's go into one of these text links. I want to disable those on tablet and mobile because I don't want to see any of those. I go into my next one. I just click on my next one, do exactly the same thing. Very easy, very quick to do. Next one. And finally, our last one over here. Wait, well, let's have a look now on tablet. As you can see, these are all grayed out, so we're not going to see them. But in the real world, our icon is going to end up over here. Just to show you, let's save this. I could have used a looper, but I've got no real pages on this site. So let's exit. We'll save our changes to our global header right here. And let's visit the site. It'll be very boring because it's an empty WordPress site. And we've got our nice little menu up here. We've got our drop down working here. I think I put a click on this one to get this one working. And as you can see, or as you can't see, we've got no little hamburger icon here. I hit my F12 key. Here we have it on an iPad. And that's okay. But you may want to make it way over on the left side there. That's entirely up to you. And we've got our drop down here. Oh, we've got another drop down here working perfectly. Now, if you did want this on the other side, let's just close this up. Go back into our theme builder here. We can go into our icon. Again, in the icon, go over to Advanced. And we can use a bit of absolute positioning on it. Okay, absolute here. Thrown it over to that side. I want it on this side. I still want it to be down in line with everything else. So we can adjust that with our vertical offset here. Let's try 10. Almost. I'd say that's about right. Also, let's just have a quick look on mobile. See, that's over the left-hand side there. Perfect. A little bit worried about our second drop down here. I may put that in line just on mobile. So while we're in the icon, to make sure I'm going to the right one, content, elements. Here's our drop down. Here's the row and the column. And it's our third link. Got the drop down in there. Inside that drop down, we've got some more links. It looks like the fourth link's got the drop down in it. There it is. For this particular drop down, I might make it in line. See if that keeps it on the screen. So I think that's going to be too wide on mobile. So once in that drop down, you can go to the drop down settings here. Instead of floating, let's put it in line. And I'll put it underneath that one drop down. Let's save our changes. And we'll exit. Make sure everything's saved here. And we'll revisit the site. Let's open it in a new tab. Here's the regular menu. There's our first little drop down. Second little drop down on a click. And again, if I hit my F12 key, here it is on the iPad. We've got our hamburger over to the right hand side here. And if I click on it, we got our first drop down. We got our second drop down. If I click on it again, we got our third drop down. And if we look on an iPhone, we'll click on it. Here's our first drop down. Our next drop down should be in line if I click on it. And they've got them all in line like that. Perfect. Let's close that up. We'll get rid of this. So there you have it, guys. Really interesting page. There's how to create a menu that disappears down into a hamburger on tablet and mobile there. Like I say, this has been pretty much identical to a regular menu. So some people may be saying, well, what was the point of that? But it just opens up so many possibilities with these new text links, and we can do mega menus. You can have graphical menus coming up. We'll do a few of those in the next week or so. We're taking another look today at the great new drop-down module that they've just added to Divi 5 here. And I've added a little drop-down sort of graphical mega menu, if you will. Got a little title up there that says post. When I hover over it, we've got this little graphical menu that pops up. It's got 9 of our little blog posts there. I've just put the title in mine and the featured image. Of course, if you click on one, I'm going to middle mouse this so it opens in a new tab. It's going to go to that particular post. And it's fully responsive. If I hit my F12 key here we have an iPhone. And let's take a look on an iPad. Let's exit. Really easy to do. I'll show you exactly how to do it. Okay, I'm going to be using the theme builder today because I'm using a custom header for this particular page. That's what I'm working on today. If you're not sure how to create a global or a custom header, have a look at our Divi 5 playlist down below. So I've gone down to the dashboard, to my theme builder. That's where we are at the moment. I'm going to go into this custom header. It's actually assigned just to the one page, manage template assignments. Specific page called C form, which funny enough was the page you saw here. So let's go in and edit it. Just hit the little pencil. And here we have it. I've got a section at the top here with 3 columns in it. My logo's in the left. Got a little menu in the middle. And I've got a post on the right. Let's get rid of this and we'll start from scratch. Okay, you can add an icon. You can add any module you want up here. I'm going to keep it very simple by just putting a text module in. In fact, let's use their new link module. They've just added this new link module. I'll roll down. There it is right there. It's popped it in. It just says text link. Let's have posts. With the text link module, you can add an icon before it if you want to. I'm going to leave it just as it is today though. In design, and my text right here, I'm going to leave it on the default font. It's capitalized for us nicely there. That's fine. I'm going to pop it in the middle. And let's perhaps turn it white. Fantastic. Now what I'm going to do, so I'm going to go back to my content. We're still in the link module here. I'm going to go down to elements. I'm going to add an element. This time we're going to use their new drop-down module. It pops it there by default. It just hovers underneath there. You can change those settings. We'll go over that in a moment. But of course, we're going to want to put something inside it. So as I want an image and a title in mind, under content, elements again, I'm going to add an element to our drop-down. We're in the drop-down. I'm going to add a little blurb module. And there it is right there. Really don't want any content in mind. You can use content if you want to use yours. Now, before I go any further, I better explain what is about to happen. I'm sure 99% of you know, but for those that don't, let's go down to the dashboard. You need to have created some posts. If I click on my posts here, you'll see I've got several posts. They've got various categories: boats, helicopters, supercars, concept cars, etc. Now, if I click on one of these posts, I'm going to hit edit. You'll see that I've added a featured image. And when you create your post, you can add it to the page. And I've also put an excerpt in there. Now, if you were to edit with Divi and go straight in there, once you get to the page level itself, and you can always click up here to get to the page level, you can put your title and your excerpt and your featured image in here. Either way around that you want to do it is fine. I know there's not much content there, but we created a blog template for all of our blog posts. And if I preview on the front end, we've added titles and relevant images and anything else we wanted to put within our blog there. So that was a quick explainer of what's going to happen next. Okay, back to the theme builder. What I've done is I've added this blog module. At the moment, there's nothing in it. I've got rid of the content there because I really just want a title, an image, and a link to the specific posts. So still in my blur module, Still under content, I'm going to roll down. I'm going to hit loop. I'm going to turn my loop on. And it's done 10 copies for us right there. But of course, there's no image, there's no title. So what I'm going to do, still in the content, in the blurb, I'm going to go back up to the text. Where it says title there, I'm going to roll over the little dynamic content icon there, little hamburger type thing, or disk icon. I'm going to say loop post title. And it's putting the title in from each of our blog posts there. You can put a before and an after, before the text and after the text if you want to. I'm going to leave mine just as it is. In the image and icon just below, here's our image. I want to do the same thing. I'm going to go up to the dynamic icon. I'm going to say loop featured image. And it brings up the images right there. Don't want quite as large images as that, so I'm going to make mine a little smaller by clicking on where it says large thumbnail size there. I'm going to take mine down to 300 by 300. Obviously, do what works for you. That's fine, but that's not actually the post that I really want to see with mine. So still in the blurb, still under content, I'm going to go back down to loop. It's selecting posts, which is fine, but I want a specific category, so only include posts with specific terms. Let's do supercars. As you can see, it changes to the supercars there. I want to show about 6. In fact, let's show 9. I think I've got 9 of these. If you've got less than 10, don't worry, because it'll only show as many as you've got. If you've got more than 10, obviously you're going to want to up that number there. That's great, but it's not really showing it the way I want it to show. Well, I want my titles to be a little better looking than that. So over in design, still in the blurb, I'm going to go down to title text. Let's just make that perhaps white in color so we can see it. Now the blurb, I actually want to link to each of these specific posts. So under the content here, just under image and icon, we've got the link, module link, so that anywhere they click on that module, I'm going to go to our hamburger again. I'm going to link it to the loop link. Fantastic. Okay, it's not really displaying how I want it. So let's go out of the blurb. I'm going to hit the back arrow to get back into our drop down. I'm going to go over to design and layout. It says it's set to flex. I'm going to change it to grid. And let's perhaps have 3 columns. It's a bit more like it, but it's over, way over to the right hand side. That's not going to work. So if we close down layout, go into drop down here, it's floating, that's fine. It's floating down underneath. It's going to appear when we hover on it. Of course, if we're on tablet and desktop, it's going to be a tap. It's below, which is fine, but it's at the start. So it's the start of the column that it's in is right there. I want to put it to the end. So it's more central like that. And if you've got more posts than I have here, you might want to enable vertical scrolling. To do that, in the drop down, we can go over to advanced. Visibility. Here's horizontal and vertical overflow. The vertical, I'm going to change from default to scroll. That way, if it rolls off the page any, we'll be able to scroll down and you can see a little scroll bar to the right there. Great, well that's going to work on desktop. What about tablet? It's made it a bit bigger looking, but it's still in the right place, I think. And on phone, really want it in the center rather than the start there. So still in our drop down, let's go back to our design. Just on mobile, let's put it in the center. It'll be right in the middle. Now, if we've done everything correctly, this should now work for us. Let's save our changes here. We'll exit. Make sure everything's saved on this page. Go to the page that this menu is active on, right here. I need to refresh. You won't see much difference because it's exactly the same. There we have it. When I hover over the posts, we've got our little drop-down menu. I've enabled the scroll there, so we've got the scroll bar at the right if you need to scroll up and down. Of course, when I click on one of these, it opens that post for us. We'll go back. Let's hit my F12 key. I'm using Google Chrome here with the inspector tools. Let's close it back up. Here we have an iPad Air, and we'd have to tap on it. Over to out there, I'm going to change the number of columns because we got 3 columns there and that's not working. If I make it 2, that's going to work fine. Let's have a look on an iPhone. Again, we'll click on it. Again, we've got too many columns. That's an easy fix. So let's go back to our theme builder. We'll go back in here. And we want to go back into our drop down. Over to design. To layout this time. We want to change the number of columns. So let's flip it to tablet. I just want 2 columns on tablet. So I'm going to take that down to 2 columns. And let's go down to mobile. I'm going to take that down to 1. So we've got 1, 2. We should have 3 on desktop, which is fine. When I hover over it, it jumps to the right place. Again, we'll resave, exit, make sure everything's saved here. Go back to our page. Let's refresh it now. And here we have it. If we tap on our post, there it is right there. We can scroll down, check it on the iPad Air again. And we tap on it. And again, we can scroll down if we need to. And back to desktop. If we hover over, perfect. It's exactly what I needed. And we've got a scroll there. If we had more posts, perfect. We got a fun one for you today. I've been experimenting with a new drop-down module that they've just introduced. I've got some images here. As you can see, they've got a little icon in the left-hand corner. If we hover over, it's going to pop out a kind of tooltip, but it's a mega tooltip because you can put any content in here you want and you can make them huge if you need to. Really easy to do with a new drop-down module that they've just introduced here. So let's get started. I'll show you exactly how to do it. I've got this page open here. Let's get rid of this whole section and we'll start from scratch. So I've got a section here. I'm going to throw a row in with 3 columns. Obviously adjust yours to taste. I'm going to throw an image module in there. Let's throw an image in there. Guess I'll use one of these crazy cars again. Okay, while we're still under the content tab, I want to go to elements. I'm going to add an icon. Add element. Let's add an icon. Roll down a bit. There it is. I want some kind of pointer. Although this is going to work on hover on desktop, on tablet and mobile, it'll be a tap. So I'm going to say pointer just to let people know that there's something going to happen. Okay. I'm going to go over to my design. A little bit big for me. So in the icon itself, I'm going to make it white in color. It's going to disappear into that background. I'm going to make it about 20 pixels. But I'm going to position it over the top of our image using a bit of absolute positioning here. So we can go over to advanced. Here's position. Let's hit absolute. Popped it on the top left-hand corner there. I'm going to have mine on the bottom left-hand corner. Now, if you want to make it stand out a bit more over the image, we can give it a background. So if we go back to content, background is always under content. Let's give it a black. Maybe make it slightly see-through with the opacity slider here. And perhaps give it a little bit of padding all around. We go back over to design. If we're going to add a bit of padding, I might want to take it down a little bit. Let's take it down to 15 pixels maybe. We'll go down to spacing. I'll give it perhaps 5 pixels all around. Just put the 5 in, hit the chain, it'll do the opposite side for you. Got left and right here. Obviously do what works for you. That's going to work for me. Okay, while we're inside our icon, I'm going to go back to the content now. I'm going to hit elements one more time, and inside our icon, I'm going to add a drop down. So I'm going to hit add element one more time. Here's a fantastic new drop down module. As you can see, it placed a little dark square beneath right there. Inside, I'm going to put a call to action, and you can put absolutely anything you want. That's what I mean. You can make it into a mega drop down. You can have all kind of things, anything your heart desires down there. I'm going to keep it fairly simple for our demo today by putting in a call to action. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up to my drop down. By default, it's got a black background. I'm going to take that away, so there's nothing there. I'm also going to take away any padding that it's got over in design, so that our call to action kind of lines up with our image there. So if we go to spacing, it's got 20 by default all around. If we put a 0 in there, hit the chain for top or bottom, same for left and right. It's kind of lined up there. Now you can choose, if we go back up to our little drop down menu under design here, whether it opens on hover or click. Hover's fine for me, but on tablet and mobile, as I mentioned earlier, that's going to be a tap. It's going to drop down below. That's going to work for me. It's at the start at the moment. In other words, the left-hand side of the icon, you put it inside the icon there. You can have it on the center or right if you want to, by hitting the end there, but that's really not going to work for me. So start's good. And I don't think I want any gap between the bottom of the image and our little call to action when it pops up. So the drop down offset, I'm going to put a 0 in there also. Our call to action is now cinched up right on the bottom of our image. Now that's way too big for me. I don't want it much more in width than our actual image itself. So let's just click on the call to action. It'll take us right inside the call to action. I'm going to go down to sizing. We roll down a bit. It's got a column class. Let's perhaps make it 1/4. Obviously, you adjust yours to taste. That's going to work for me. I think I'll have all my text on the left. So still in the call to action, if we roll up, I'm going to go into text. I'll roll it left. And when it gets to smaller devices, I don't want that title to be so big. So we got title text just down below. Let's maybe take that down to 16 or something like that. It's capitalized, so it's still a nice little title. Probably bold it up a little bit. Again, whatever works for you. And if you want a button, a call to action button, we can do that under the content of the call to action here. Here's the link. Here's the button link URL. Obviously, put in whatever link you want here. Once you put a link in, the button's going to show up down there. Great. Now, I also want my tooltip or call to action or whatever you want to call yours to be perhaps dark in color. So still under the content, we know that's where the background is. Let's click on it. Let's make it dark in color. Now, there's one other thing. You may want to pop your image out into a light box. If we click back on the image, because we've added our drop down to our icon here, we can still link the image. You can either link it to any URL you like here, or you can hit open in Lightbox if you want it to be able to open in a Lightbox. Great, now we've got our first one. It's really easy to rinse and repeat. So I'm going to go to wireframe mode over here. I'm going to duplicate my image, drag one over. They're both exactly the same here. Let's go back to the content, switch out a picture for another crazy car. Rinse and repeat. And we'll upload that image. Like I say, you're going to want to change what you've got in your call to action. Remember that we've nested everything inside here. So to get to it, once in your image, we can go to content and elements. You'll see the icon there. Remember, we put the drop down inside the icon. So if we go into the icon, there's our drop down. Inside the drop down, here's our call to action. You can edit it right there. Like I say, for expediency, I'm going to keep mine all the same. Great, well, just so we got some scroll room, I'm going to make this section full height by going into design, sizing. We'll give it a minimum height, the 100 VH perhaps. Now let's take a look at what we've got here. Let's save our changes, and we'll preview on the front end. And here we have it. If we hover over one of these images, nothing is going to happen. If we click on it, it's going to pop out into a light box. Should be the same for our other images here. Perfect. If we hover over the icon, it's going to have our little mega drop down there, or mega tooltip, or whatever you want to call yours. Like I say, you can put absolutely anything in these, and it's a really easy and nice little interactive feature to have. Now, there's one thing you want to bear in mind. Let's duplicate this row a couple of times. 2 little squares to duplicate, and we'll do one more. And all I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go in I'm going to change out these images so we've got different images. I'll pause the video while I do that. Okay, I've just put the last image in there. Let's resave this. Now, you may be wondering why I duplicated these rows instead of just duplicating images under each other. And there's a reason for that. I'll show you in a moment. So we go back to our page now and refresh. Now we saved. We've got our images here. We've got a bit of a problem there. The images below are appearing on top of our little drop downs there. That's not going to work very well. In fact, it's not going to work at all. Bottom ones are all right because there's nothing underneath them. And also, if I hover over one of these, there's a little bar that appears at the bottom. That's because of the drop down. It's actually wider than our screen, which is not a good thing. All of these are really easy fixes. So if we go back to our page here, to make sure that our drop downs appear over the below images, we can change the Z index on our rows. So let's start off with the top. We want the highest ones at the top, lowest ones at the bottom. Z index dictate how things stack. Lower numbers always appear below higher numbers. So I'm in the top row here. I've gone over to advanced. Let's go to position, roll down. Here's the Z index. Let's start off with 50 perhaps, 50. I'm going to go into my next row. Roll down a bit again. Let's give this one 40. I'm going to go to my last one. Guess what? Let me give this one 30. Now, hopefully that will fix the Z index issue. The little scroll bar that we had at the bottom there, we can fix that. If we go into our section, advanced and visibility, we can disable any horizontal overflow. So anything that falls outside of this section this way and that way will not be seen. I change it to hidden. Now if we resave, we'll go back to the page and refresh. Our little tooltips are appearing above our other ones there, and there's no little scroll bar at the bottom. Absolutely perfect. And of course, if we click on them, they'll still pop out into their light boxes. Great way of getting some info. You could do your staff pictures like this if you wanted to on your site. It's got all kind of connotations you can use it for. So there we have it, guys. There's how to create a mega tooltip using the great new Dropdown module and a little call to action. A little bit of work, but I think it's worth it. A little floating button up here. When I click on it, it's got a little drop down with some more products on it that are on sale. Click on it again, it's going to disappear. It's fully responsive. If I hit my F12 key, here we have it on iPad. If I click on it, there it is. We can scroll down. Obviously, click on it, go to the various product. Perfect. And let's take a look on our phone. I'll roll back. Here we have it on the phone. Again, we can click on it. We can roll down, select the product we want. Obviously, click on it. Really easy to do. We're using the fantastic new Dropdown module that they've just added to Divi 5 today. So let's get started. Here's the page that we designed yesterday. Simple category page using a looper system. We're going to use a similar thing to build our Dropdown today. So I've got this page open. Let's go ahead. We'll delete this and we'll start from scratch. Okay, I'm going to roll down to the bottom of the page. There's an empty row from where I had my button just now. I'm going to add a new row with the little green button for a new row. I'm going to use a single flex column. Inside my column, you can use pretty much any module you want to do this. You can use an image or an icon. I'm going to use a simple text module. I wouldn't recommend you use a button purely because if you click on it, it's going to try and reload the page. So I put a little text module in there. Let's put what we want it to say, perhaps on sale. That'll work. We'll give it a background. I'm under content. Background's always under content. Let's make it a nice dark color. And we'll pop over to our design tab, make it a color that we can actually see. Here's the text. I'm going to capitalize it. And again, let's make it a color we can see. That's a bit better. I'm going to scoot it all into the middle by rolling down a bit and centering it. Now, as we're kind of using it for a button, I'm going to make it a lot smaller. So let's roll down a little bit more to sizing. Roll up a little bit. And I'm going to give it a width of, say, 100 pixels px on the end. And hit enter. Great, well that's going to work for me. Now we need to add the actual drop down itself that we want to drop down from this little text module. To do that, still in the text module, I'm going to go back to Content, Elements. I'm going to hit Add Element. I'm going to add the new drop down menu they've just added to Divi 5, and it's awesome. As you can see, it's put a little black box down below our button there. That's what we're going to use to put the products we want to advertise when they click on that button. So as you can see, we're in the drop down right now. We're still in Element under Content. So I'm going to hit Add Element. I'm going to use Call to Action. Again, you can use pretty much any module to do this, but I'm going to keep it simple by just having a call to action. I'm going to use the background image and a button. As you can see, it's put a pretty ugly call to action in there. Now, for anybody who doesn't know what's going to happen next, you have to have created some products. I've got WooCommerce installed on this site. I've created some products. Each of my products has got a featured image. It's got a title. It's got a price, obviously. It's also got a long and a short description. All we're going to use today is the featured image and the price. And that's what we're going to be pulling in with our looper. So if we go back to our page now, don't need a title. Get rid of that. Don't need any content. Get rid of that. But I do want a button. Put whatever you want your button to say there. I'm going to leave it on click here. You perhaps might want to say buy now or see more, whatever works for you. And it's left the sort of background color of that call to action, the pink down there, with a little black border around it, which is our actual drop down itself. So still in my call to action, I'm going to loop it. We're still under the content. I'm going to go down. I'm going to hit loop. I'm going to switch the switch to on. What do I want to loop? Well, not post because I haven't got any on this site. I want to loop my products. So I'm going to get rid of that by Xing out. I'm going to left click. Roll down, can't see products. If you just roll down a little bit more, it's just under projects there. Down below, we can select the categories that we want to add. Let's add a few categories. Let's say perhaps dresses, shirts, and maybe pants or something like that. If I roll down a bit, you can see it's added a whole lot of empty boxes for us here. And that's actually the number of items I've got in mind. If we roll down a bit more, you can exclude posts with specific terms, or you can only include specific posts. Now, everywhere it says posts there, because we've changed it to products, that's products. So if you want to add specific products, just left click on there. It'll give you a list of all your products and you can grab what you need there. I'm happy with the categories I've got. If we roll down a little bit more, you can order it by publish date, none, ID, title, etc. I'm happy with publish date. And of course, you can have it descending or ascending. Now, it's set by default to display 10. I think I've got about 12 or so of those products in those categories. So if you've got more than 10, you need to up that number. If you've got less than 10, you do not need to up that number because it won't make any difference. It'll just display the amount you've got. Now, that's all very well, but it's not looking very good at all, is it? It's just a bunch of pink squares on a black background. Well, let's fix that. Still in our call to action, let's roll back up to the content. Now that we've looped it, we can go back into our text. If you wanted to add the title of the product, you could do up here with the dynamic content. I'm not going to do that. The only thing I want to add here is a link for the button. I want the button to go to the actual product itself. So button link URL. I'm going to go over the little hamburger or disk type icon, insert dynamic content, or left click. Loop product link URL. So it's now going to take us to that product. We'll hit apply. And for the background, I want the featured image of the actual product itself. So if we roll down the background, remember we're still in the call to action that we've looped. I'm going to go over to the third tab, which is background image. And again, I'm going to roll over the grey writing there, go to the little disk type icon, insert dynamic content, loop product featured image. And we've got our little featured image for each of our products there. And it was a pink highlighted button. That was the reason you couldn't see it before. But again, that doesn't look very good to me. Let's get it the way I want it. I want to see more of the image. I want the button perhaps be a different color. I don't think I want to have an icon on the button because it's changing the shape of it. So we're still in our call to action. We can do all that right here. Let's go to our design. First thing I want to do is make it a little bit deeper so that we see much more of our image. So let's roll down to the sizing. And I'm going to give it perhaps a height of 270 pixels. Obviously, do whatever works for you, 270px. That's got more of our image to show there. That's a bit better. Now, I don't want that button at the top there. I'd like it sort of down the bottom somewhere. Really easy fix. What we can do is roll back up. The layout, it should be set to flex. It is. I'm going to justify my content to the end there, and that button should drop down the bottom. Perfect. And again, I don't want it pink like that. So still in the design, we can close up our layout right here. Here's the button. We'll use custom styles. Let's perhaps give it a dark background. Take a bit of the opacity down so you've got a hint of the image behind perhaps. That's fine. Let's make the text itself light in color. And a lot smaller, and perhaps capitalize it. I'm going to make it uppercase and perhaps 14 pixels so it's less prominent. No, I think that's going to work. But of course, I just don't want it all in one big long row like this on desktop. That'll work for mobile. So what we can do now is go back up to where it says call to action. We'll roll back to the drop down, which is one before it. Hit the little back button. We're right there. I'm going to go to the layout. I'm going to switch it from flex to grid. Now it's set to one column. On desktop, I probably want about 3, but put as many as you want in there, 2, 3. Probably fit 4 in there if you wanted to. It's got all of our 12 products in there. That's fine. On tablet, I don't think 4 is going to work. 3 might be pushing a bit. Let's bring it down to 2. And for mobile, like I said earlier, probably just want a single column. So we'll take that down to 1. That's great. Now we've got to remember that when they're on mobile, they want to be able to scroll this thing. Plus, I don't want it down the bottom there. I want it to be on the top, floating up the top of the page somewhere. So let's go back here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into our little text module that we had at the top there. Now, if you can't get to it, just go to your little icon on the left-hand side. It says wireframe view. There's our text module right there. Remember, all these other things are nested within inside our little text module here. So I'm in the text module. We can flip back now that we're in there. I want to flip it from being on the bottom down here to being on the top at all times. So in the text module, I'm going to go over to advanced. I'm going to go to position. I'm going to change it from default to fixed. What it's done, it's pulled it right up to the top of our page here. Now, if you're going to do this, one thing you want to bear in mind is that we need to give it enough space for our header that's at the top. So if we look at this page, I'm guessing that's probably 100, 120 pixels or so. So I'm going to put it down to about 150, which is what we've got there. So to offset it, vertical offset, make it 150 pixels. It's already got pixels selected. And let's take it out from the side, perhaps by about 10 pixels. Obviously adjust to taste. Now, if you roll down the page and things start covering it up, you can up the Z index. Just start putting a few 9s in there if you need to, and make sure it's on top of everything else. What Z index does, for anybody that doesn't know, dictates what elements stack on top of other elements. Something with a higher Z index will always show on top of something with a lower Z index. Okay, so we've got it where we want it. We've adjusted the columns for tablet and mobile, but we may need to make it scrollable, certainly on mobile phone, because we won't be able to see all these products. To do that, let's go into our drop down again and get to it easily this time by just clicking on the cog. Here we are in the drop down. I'm going to give it a fixed height. I'll give it a fixed height of perhaps 70 viewable height, and that's 70% of the whatever screen we're looking at here. So over in design, we can go down to sizing. roll down to height. Let's give it 70 VH for viewable height. You can see it's cut it off a little bit at the bottom there. So we need to make it scrollable. To do that, we can go over to advanced and visibility. And this is pretty important, otherwise people are not going to be able to get to your items. On the vertical overflow, I'm going to change it from default to scroll, and we'll have a little scroll bar there. That way you can scroll down and see the other elements. Now the only other thing, while we're in the drop down, let's go back to our design. How do we want to activate it? You can have it activated on hover if you want to, by going down to drop down here. It's floating, which is fine by me. Hover, I'd rather have it happen on click. On sale is acting more like a button there. So let's do that. Drop down selection below, that's where I want it. You can have it at the start. I don't think it's going to work anywhere else because we've got it on the left hand side. If I put it to center, it's going to be halfway off the canvas there. Same with the end, so that's not really going to work. So let's keep it to start. The offset's a little too much for me, 20 pixels. Let's just take the 0 off and have 2 pixels so we've got a little gap there between it. Something like that. Obviously adjust to taste. So if we've done everything correctly now, this should actually work for us. So let's save our changes. I'll get rid of the preview I've got here and we'll do a fresh preview on it. I'm going to preview on the front end. Here we have it. It's sitting just about where I want it. Obviously, if yours isn't, adjust it more or less to taste. When I click on it, there's our little drop down. We can scroll down, see all our little products. Now I want to take that icon away on that button because it's adjusting the size, which I really don't like. So let's do that quickly. Click on any call to action. Go over to design. We can go down to button icon. Now we'll go back to our page, refresh. Now I can click on it, and you can toggle it off and on simply by clicking on it, obviously. Now our button's not going to resize it. We can scroll down, we can see all our products here. Click on one, take us to that product. Fantastic. Let's make sure it's going to work on tablet and mobile. Hit my F12 key again. Here we have it on an iPhone. And here it is. As you can see, we can scroll down all our products. Fantastic. Let's have a look on an iPad. There it is on the iPad. And again, we can scroll down, get to any products. Click it on, click it off. Just what the doctor ordered. So there you go, guys. That's how to create a nice little on sale drop down with a brand new drop down module that they just added to Divi 5. Really nice new feature. Today, we're using the great new link module to just drop down a menu of on sale items here. And of course, if you click on one, it's going to take you to that specific item. Really easy to do. And that'll stay on the page wherever we scroll down it. So it's available at all times. And of course, it's responsive as well. If I hit my F12 key, I'm using Google Chrome here. Here we have it on an iPhone. I've got it scrolling on an iPhone, just in case the menu is too long for people. And you can toggle it on and off. Really easy to do. So let's get started. I've got this page open. Let's delete what we've got going on and we'll start from scratch. Now, if you watched yesterday's videos, you can skip ahead because I'm going to do pretty much exactly the same thing for my little button. I'm going to add a new row, or you can just add it anywhere on the page because it's going to be in fixed position, so it really doesn't matter, but I'll add a new row. I'm going to use a text module instead of a button. If you use a button, when you click on it, it tends to reload the page, which will not work. So let's use a little text module. If we roll down a bit, there it is. We'll put in what we want to say up here. It's on sale, whatever it is you want to say, obviously. As you can see, that's got that down there. While we're in here, let's give it a background. Do pretty much the same as I did yesterday. Give it a dark background. I'm going to pop over to my design tab to make it a color we can actually see. It's down in the text right here. Let's make it white. Simple, ease of use. There it is. And perhaps make it uppercase. I'm going to pop mine in the middle. And just as with yesterday's, as we're using it as a button, I want it to be a lot smaller than that. So still in the design tab, we can close up our text right here and go down to sizing. And let's go to about 100 pixels in width. There's the width right there. Type in 100 and the PX, or you can select pixels from this end if you want to. And there we have it. And today I'm going to have mine on the top right. Yesterday we had one on the top left. To do that, very easy. If I roll back down to the button, if we go over to advanced, we're still in the text module. Hit the advanced, down to position. I'm going to change it from default to fixed. You may think, well, it's disappeared. It hasn't. It's put it up on the top left-hand side up there. I want mine on the right. And again, as we mentioned yesterday, you want to remember that we've got a header up here. So you want to take that into consideration. So I want to push it down by about 150. That's what I use for the one over there, so I know. Just bear that in mind when you're positioning yours. And we can do that by rolling down a little bit. Here's the vertical offset. Let's type in 150. It's already got pixels selected. And if we want to bring it out from the side a little bit, we can offset it by incrementing up as much as you want there. I think I did 10 yesterday. That'll do for me. Great. Now, still in our text module, we're going to use one of the new wonderful drop-down menus. So let's go back to Content, Elements. We'll add an element. The element we want to add is our new drop-down right here. As you can see, it puts a little dark square underneath it, and we can populate it with anything we want, really. Today, I'm going to use the new link module they've added recently. So again, we're in the drop-down now. I'm going to add a new element. We roll down a little bit. There's the new link module they just added. Perfect. It's popped it in there. Now, still in the link module, I'm going to loop it. Going to go down, hit loop, check the switch to turn it on. What do I want to loop? I want to loop some products, or my whole on sale and clearance categories, basically. So we don't want posts. I'm going to get rid of that. Going to left click in there. Just below projects, if we roll down a little bit more, you'll find products. And here you can decide the categories you want. I want my clearance, and I also want on sale. And it'll add those in there. Now, if you want to do them individually or specifically, you can go only include specific posts. As we mentioned yesterday, although it says posts there, because we've changed it to products up here in the post type, that does mean products. So if you want to include specific posts, just left click on there. It'll give you a list of all your products. I'm happy with that though. And by default, it puts in 10. Not sure if I've got more than that in those two categories. If you've got more, you'll need to up this little number right here. So I'll up that to 12. You can order by publish date, name, ID, title, etc. here if you want to. And you can descend or ascend if you need to. Okay, that's great. But that's not really doing us much good because they all say exactly the same thing. So still in our link, let's go back to our content now. Rolling right up to the top. In the text, I'm going to use a dynamic content. So roll over the grey text right there. We'll give us some icons over here. A little disc or hamburger type icon right here. Insert dynamic content. We're going to left click on it. I'm going to choose loop product title. And it's done that for us. It's rolling off the end of our canvas a bit, but we'll fix that in a minute. If you want to put something before it, you can do, or after it, you can do. I'm just happy with it like that. Let's apply. Now we'll come back to this in a minute and we'll decorate our text and align it right. I don't want it falling off of our canvas right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. I'm going to go up to where it says link up here. I'm going to hit the back button. So we're in the drop down. I'm going to go over to design. Where it says drop down here, it's floating, which is fine. I don't mind it floating. We want it to open on click though, so that our on sale is more like a button. You can have it on hover if you want to, and it will be tap on tablet or mobile. Below is absolutely fine, but it's at the start at the moment. We need to pull it over to the left. So if I put it on the end, it'll pull it over to the left for us and line it up with the end there, which is more in keeping now that we've got this on the right today. Fantastic. Well, let's go back into one of our links. Just click on any one of them. It'll take you to the link, as you can see up there. I want mine aligned to the left, so if we go down to the text, let's align it on the left. And also color-wise, I just want it to be a simple white. And perhaps have a different color when we hover over it to create a different color when we hover over it. We can go up to the little computer type icon right here. We're still in our link. Switch it from the computer to hover. We can choose a different color when they hover over it, whatever color you want to have yours. Throw that in for the time being. Now it's really important, once you create a hover effect, you want to make sure you go back up here, turn it from hover back to desktop. Otherwise, any edits you make down here or on these tabs here will only happen when they hover over it, which is not what we want. To separate these a little bit more, I'd like to put a little bottom border on them. Now this is entirely up to you, but it's very easy to do. Still in the design, we can close up our text. We've got a border down here. I just want it to be on the bottom, so I'm selecting the bottom one. I'm going to give it just a single pixel. You can vaguely see it in there. I'm going to make it a light grey, something like that. Stands out a little bit better. And it's a little bit too close to the writing there for me. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of padding on the bottom to push it down a bit. So we can close up our border. We've got spacing just above. Padding bottom, just increment up. As you can see, as I'm incrementing, it's giving it a little bit more space. Now, if you decide those are too far apart for you, we can go back into our drop down and tidy them out. I think 8's a little too much. Let's put it to 5. That's going to work for me. To get rid of any gap there, I'm going to leave mine because on tablet and mobile, it will give it, they don't want to be tapping on 2 of these at once. But if you do want to reduce that space, we can go back into our drop down to do that. Once we're in the drop down, we can go to layout under design here. Here's our vertical gap of 30. If you want to make them closer, just take it down. Let's say put 20 in there. That'll tighten them up a little bit. Like I say, I was fairly happy with 30. Well, let's compromise. Let's call it 25. Now, of course, we want these links to go to the individual products. So this is pretty important. Let's click back on a link so we're back in the link. Under content, you'll find link. If we click on that, we can do the same thing with some dynamic content. Link URL. Hit the little hamburger or disk icon for dynamic. Loop product link. Now when we click on any of these, it'll take us to that individual item. Now, the other thing, if you've got a very long list, you're going to want to make it scrollable. I mean, on desktop, it's fine. Let's have a look on tablet. I think on tablet, it'd be fine too. But you can do this for all sizes if you want to, but I'm just going to do it for mobile. On mobile, I'm going to give it a fixed height. So we need to be in the drop down to do this itself. So let's go back one, make sure we're in the drop down itself. Design, sizing. I'm going to give it a fixed height. Here's height. I'm going to make it say 50 VH, viewable height. That would make it 50% of the viewable height of any screen that they're looking at it on mobile there. Now, so as they can scroll, we want to go over to the advanced. We're still in the drop down. Go to visibility. Here's the vertical overflow. I'm going to change that from default to scroll. That way they'll be able to scroll up and down on the mobile devices. Great. Well, let's go back to desktop. I think we've got pretty much everything we need there. We've got the right position. There's quite a gap there between the drop down and the actual button we're using, or text module. If you want to reduce that, still in the drop down, we can go into design, back into the drop down itself. Here's the drop down offset, 20 pixels it's got there. If you want to reduce it, just put a smaller number in. Obviously, if you want to make it bigger, put a larger number in. But I think that's going to work for me. So let's close down the preview we've got up there. We'll save this. And we'll have a fresh preview on the front end. And here we have it. Here's our button. When I click on it, It's going to drop down. When I hover over, it's got that little hover color. Obviously, when I click on one of these, it's going to take us to that particular product. We go back. Now let's just check it on tablet and mobile. I'm going to hit my F12 key. I'm using Google Chrome here. Here we have it on an iPhone. There's our little button. As you can see, it stays wherever it is, wherever we put it. And you can adjust the spacing on tablet and mobile if you decide you've got too much gap there. You need to be in the text module. Remember, we fixed positioned it. If you want to change it on tablet and mobile to tighten it up, we gave it 150 offset on desktop. You can have separate values for tablet and mobile if you want to. And of course, when we click on it, I made this scrollable, so when they put their mouse on it or put their finger on it, they can roll up and down. If you've got a long list, they'll still be able to get to them. And of course, when we click on one, it's going to take us to that particular product. Fantastic. Let's get rid of our mobile devices. So there you go, guys. Really easy to do. Great little feature. Some great little new modules from Divi 5 here. We can do it on click or you can do it on hover. And a really easy way of adding anything. You can do this with menus. You can do this with all kind of things. So don't forget, if you've got any questions, either about Divi 4 or Divi 5, put them down below. I'll be happy to answer them if I can, or make a little demo video just like this one. So once again, this has been Jamie with System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.